You've been locked on by an invisible enemy nearly 100 miles away. Seconds later, a missile tears your jet into scrap metal. The absolutely insane part: the machine that just swatted you out of the sky doesn't belong to your rivals in Russia. It's the most expensive, most advanced and deadliest weapon in the US military. But there's no American at the controls. Welcome to the bizarre reality of the F-14 Tomcat, a jet so incredibly dangerous that the United States was eventually forced to make a drastic decision. They had to systematically destroy their own legendary fleet, literally shredding them into tiny fragments of aluminum. How did the pride of the American Air Force become its greatest nightmare? The answer lies in the most fatal arms deal in modern history. To understand why the Pentagon went into a total panic 3 decades later, you have to look at what they actually built. The F-14 Tomcat wasn't just a plane for air shows, it was a flying execution squad. Built in the 1970s to intercept massive Soviet bombers, Grumman engineers created something that was pure science fiction. First, the wings. These weren't static pieces of metal. They were variable sweep wings with their own mechanical brain. During flight, they automatically changed position, sweeping forward for low-speed dogfights and tucking flat against the fuselage to tear through the atmosphere at over twice the speed of sound. The jet adapted like a living organism. But the real monster was hidden in the nose, the radar. While every other fighter at the time was flying nearly blind, hoping to spot a target 10 miles away, the Tomcat scanned the entire horizon. It could track 24 enemy targets simultaneously from over 100 miles away, and its weapon of choice was the AIM-54 Phoenix missile. Imagine a flying telephone pole that weighs 1,000 pounds and has only one purpose: absolute destruction. The Tomcat could carry 6 of these beasts, and here's the mental part. The pilot could fire all 6 at once. 6 missiles, diving independently towards 6 different enemy jets at Mach 4. No warning, no escape. Before the enemy even knew an American jet was in the air, it was already raining burning metal. But Hollywood lied to you. They made this jet look like an invincible dogfighting machine. The terrifying truth: the Tomcat was as dangerous to its own crews as it was to the enemy. It had a fatal flaw: the original Pratt & Whitney TF-30 engines. These engines were incredibly sensitive. If a pilot pulled too hard in a dogfight, the engine would be starved of air, suffer a catastrophic compressor stall, and shut down. Because the engines were mounted so far apart on the massive airframe, losing one meant the thrust from the other would violently snap the aircraft into an unrecoverable flat spin. It killed dozens of American pilots. The Secretary of the Navy famously called flying it a game of Russian roulette. This was the weapon America intended to use to dominate World War III. A technology so secret and so deadly that no one outside the US military was ever supposed to touch it, until Washington signed the worst deal of the century. It's the 1970s. The Cold War is peaking, and the US needs a powerhouse ally in the Middle East to block the Soviet Union. They find that ally in Iran. The Shah of Iran is sitting on endless oil wealth and wants absolute air superiority. The American government under Richard Nixon makes a move that seems insane today. They give the Shah a blank check. They open their top-secret weapon lockers and tell him to buy whatever he wants. The Shah sees the F-14 fly and is instantly obsessed. He doesn't order a few, he orders 80 of them, plus over 700 of those top-secret Phoenix missiles. A deal worth billions. American engineers build the jets, American pilots train the Iranians, and 79 of these superweapons are delivered to Tehran. America has a watchdog armed to the teeth. Then 1979 hits and the world flips upside down. The Islamic Revolution sweeps across Iran. The Shah is overthrown. Overnight, America's best friend becomes its worst enemy. The embassy is stormed, hostages are taken, and the Pentagon realizes with icy horror their new mortal enemy now owns 79 of their most advanced fighter jets, fully fueled and ready to kill. In Washington, generals tried to play it cool. They laughed, saying these jets are flying supercomputers. Without American mechanics and spare parts, they'll be expensive scrap in a few months. The Iranians won't even be able to start the engines. They were dead wrong. In 1980, Saddam Hussein attacks Iran. He thinks he'll dominate the skies. But as Iraqi pilots cross the border, their radar warning systems go red. They're being targeted. The F-14 Tomcats are in the air. The Iranians somehow kept them alive, and they unleash an absolute bloodbath. The Tomcat did exactly what it was built for. Iraqi jets didn't stand a chance. Terror spread through the Iraqi Air Force so fast that pilots would eject and abandon perfectly good planes the second they realized a Tomcat had a radar lock. One Iranian pilot, Jalil Zandi, shot down 11 planes. He became the most successful Tomcat ace in history, more successful than any American pilot ever. But the Iranians didn't just fly the Tomcat, they completely rewrote the playbook. When they started running out of the ultra-expensive Phoenix missiles, they didn't ground the fleet. In an act of pure desperation and engineering madness, Iranian mechanics managed to wire massive ground-based MIM-23 Hawk surface-to-air missiles directly to the wings of the F-14. It looked ridiculous, but it worked. Furthermore, because Saddam's forces had bombed Iran's ground radars, the Iranian Air Force started using the Tomcat's incredibly powerful AWG-9 radar as a flying command center. They would park a single F-14 high in the stratosphere, acting as a mini-AWACS, coordinating swarms of cheaper F-4 Phantoms to ambush Iraqi strike packages. The Tomcat became a boogeyman. Iraqi intelligence actually issued standing orders to their pilots. If your sensors indicate an F-14 is anywhere within a 50-mile radius, you are to abort the mission immediately and run for home. The psychological dominance was absolute. Fast forward to 2006. The US Navy finally retires the F-14. Normally, old jets go to the Boneyard in Arizona. They're wrapped in plastic and stored in the sun just in case they're needed for parts later. But with the Tomcat, the Pentagon was in a total panic. The black market for military gear was exploding. Iran was desperate for parts to keep their aging fleet alive. The Department of Defense was deathly afraid. What if a smuggler climbs the fence at the Boneyard, strips a critical radar chip, and sells it to Tehran? A single microchip from an American scrap pile could keep an Iranian jet combat-ready. The risk was too high. The Pentagon made a decision that broke every aviation lover's heart. They chose total physical annihilation. Massive industrial shredders, 100,000-pound machines with giant steel claws, were rolled onto the airfield. These machines usually crush cars. Now they were eating history. The claws tore the swing wings off. They shattered the armored cockpits. They shredded the jets into 2-inch fragments to ensure not even a single bolt could be salvaged. They gutted museum displays. They destroyed the blueprints, the specialized tools, and the molds. The US massacred its own icon just to stop one single nation. Today, only one country in the world still flies the F-14. It isn't the country that built it, it's the country it was meant to destroy. Every time an Iranian pilot pulls this relic into the sky, it's a brutal reminder of the price of power. This wasn't just the end of a plane, it was the execution of a legend. If you want to uncover the most insane, terrifying, and untold tactical stories from military history that they definitely didn't teach you in school, hit that subscribe button. This is Team Alpha 6. We'll see you on the next mission.